you hold a bowl, that will be filled. What kind of receptacle are you holding up for the divine abundance? In this receptacle, cast out all fear, doubt, hate, and envy. Change it with the purifying waters of peace. Divine abundance follows the law of service and generosity. Give and then receive. Give to the world with your very best, what you can, and the best will come back to you. So it is. So it is. Now, a mission statement. You can find those in the back of our seat, back seat. The first statement. The global center for Christ consciousness is a spiritual center to students and masters on spiritual path. We are dedicated to awakening the inner Christ and to creating a world.
Self-hypnosis as divine tool.
Acceptance.
Holy relationships.
Receiving.
Okay, one sec.
Receiving.
Got
Courage to assist through the illusion.
okay. Okay, thank you. When people are talking about the world and they're coming from a spiritual perspective, I mean, sometimes there's a heaviness and bleakness because of life stuff, but a lot of times people do the opposite. They talk about ascension and, all kinds of blissful kinds of things. Please know that both of those are right. There's a time to every purpose under heaven. There's a time to mourn, a time to celebrate. So there's a time, but there's a necessity to know what to do at which time. So we can talk about ascension and people can get really wowed about it and it's really beautiful. Go to a celebration of some kind, dance and sing, and there's a time for that. But when you're really awake, it's almost like you're not caught up in these things, the groups, the fads, the isms. It's like you're holding a center. And you know how to dance that dance, and you know how to mourn that need to mourn. But you keep coming back to this centered place. The song for the folks online that we shared as a group this morning was Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel. What do you mean, oh, you were here? Or you weren't. That's funny. But, and for me, like even a song like that, allow the mind to just go and just recognize the depth of everything possible. Like just to really sit and wow, but never jump in and make anything your thing. Your thing is right here. All that you are, all that you need is right here. That doesn't mean don't go to therapy, don't go to eat, don't pick up your kids at school. It just means you are in your center and you're reaching the world as needed. So you know how to say, well, right in this moment, I'm extending myself to celebrate and dance and sing and be joyous. And then there's a day for something else, day for deep meditation, introspection, other days, something else, you know? So, but to never really lose sight of yourself, that's the key. Remembering the whole point to it all, right here. The example, we have this afternoon mythology course we do once a month. And today's theme is Hindu mythology, or Far Eastern for that matter. And so one of the things we cover in that is Krishna. You know, Krishna sharing the story in the Gita where he's this, you know, you see the paintings all the time probably, but, you know, here he is on a chariot and 4 horses leading. But that's where the charioteer, which is your soul, is running the 4 horses, which are your 4 lower centers. So you're supposed to be the one in charge. You're not supposed to allow the horses of life, not your root chakra, not your solar plexus, not your navel center, not even your heart, to pull you. Spirit is in control of the 4 chariots. And this is something that, you know, you just don't forget, you don't let go of. Just keep coming back to it. One of the wisest statements from one of the wisest individuals in history, I know you've heard of him, but we are the dreamers of the dream. That's Willy Wonka. We are the dreamers. I mean, that sentence alone, that's Shakespearean, it's higher consciousness. We are the dreamers of, Edgar Allan Poe said something along those same lines. Life is but a dream. It's a dream within a dream. Like, if you just stop and hear that, you don't even have to be into Edgar Allan Poe. Just that word, that sentence. Wait, what? Life is a dream. That's Taoism. That's Buddhism. That's consciousness talking. So to allow these things to feed our soul. Don't run after it. Don't try to go marry Willy Wonka. You don't have to become a something or other religion. Right here, man, is the whole ecosystem. And it's like, and when you have stuff to work on, you shift into working on your ecosystem. And when you're thriving, just always the ecosystem is beautiful. It's thriving. It's healthy. And when I need to sit in therapy, I take this self and sit down, a sponsor, a therapist, a hypnotherapist, and we sit and we work on that stuff. But you don't jump in and say, this is my salvation, and then a year later going, oh, it's not doing what I wanted. So now I'll switch to this. That's called tangential, which, of course, in Miracle says human beings suffer from being so tangential, always jumping. You know why we jump from one thing to another? Because we don't want any of it to work. Yeah, that's what it is. It's self-sabotage. And what you'll do is you'll blame them. You know, my therapist isn't this, my sponsor, they failed me. They didn't answer the phone. So I drank. You were going to do it anyway. You just wanted to drink and now you're blaming your sponsor. Take responsibility. No, I don't like that. So we learn to just, this ecosystem is mine and it's reflecting me and my inner choices, not just outer. People think things are still ruled by the outer choices. No, we're not just told to be in control of those 4 horses, which are also in the book of Revelation, the 4 horses, you know, primary horses, right? You're not just being told you're in charge of the horses. Take charge. You're being told the horses are already responding to you. If your life is out of control, this is actually what you're telling the horses to do. And when you're not centered enough, the horses will run a little wild. I wish these horses would get their act together and they're like, us? You've got the reins, dude. That's not actually in the Gita. I'm just saying. But it's true, like, you know, and it's an interesting thing if you ever had done, you know, equine therapy and worked with animal whispering and of any kind. It's an interesting thing because, you know, you can say this horse is doing this and the horse cannot not respond to the rider. That's part of life program. The life program. The horse is responding and mirroring something in the rider. And how many riders are willing to get on the horse and go, this horse is to this horse is to... They don't usually go, this horse is reflecting to me that I'm not in my center enough. Now, your equine therapist will help you learn that. But people don't typically do that. But it isn't just the horse and horse therapy. It's your dog that bites people. It's your children that are running rampant. It's your ex that's doing this and that and the other. The universe is responding even when we're not making healthy choices. It's a choice to not have made healthier choices. So the horses kind of do their thing. So all that said, how do we know what to ask for? One of you has requested here. First of all, keeping in balance the four horses. If the reins are too hard on one side but not the other, you're going to steer one direction. Everything's about this beautiful ecosystem. If in Chinese medicine, the Yellow Emperor, as he was called in classic literature for the Chinese medicine arts, the Yellow Emperor, there's a book called The Yellow Emperor's Classic, and it's an ancient, like a treatise on healing. So he teaches, like he's basically trained by the Taoist masters who are coming from the Lemurian, healing arts and original work. But the Taoist masters are saying, and they taught him, and he says, when Shen, which is spirit, is weak, the whole empire is weak and ruined. But if Shen is strong, then the empire will reflect that. So that's you and me in our own lives. When Shen, which is located here, when your soul has it together, then the whole ecosystem of the empire will be healthy, physically, emotionally, and so on. Now, Shen is here in Chinese medicine, but technically, even above Shen is God itself. So Shen cannot be, your soul, your heart cannot, and I'm not talking about your romantic heart. People think romance is of the heart. Oh God, no. Romance is your navel center and your root chakra, of course, if you're lucky enough, okay? But generally speaking, it's here. This is your soul. This isn't, I hope I get lucky today. This is your soul that's like, man, I'm so past all that. But this dude right here needs to listen to this one. God, what would you have me do? Your heart should be in communion as often as possible. And I don't mean you have to walk down the street every second of every day doing mantra and prayer, although it wouldn't hurt. But you don't have to. A Course in Miracles, Christ consciousness is teaching us it would be impractical to expect everybody to just constantly blah, 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 as they're walking down the street, although we do have a few of those in Sedona. All right? It says just at least do this. Just at least do this. Start the day with it and ask that the day be covered overall. Just start and do it that way. Get umbrella coverage, insurance policy on your day. Just remind me. And so basically you start your day and end your day for sure. Plugged in. But during the day, anytime in between those 2 points, when you're pulled off, when you really need an extra something, reconnect. That's all you really need to do. That's communion with God. Start and end your day. And anytime during the day you need to, just to recalibrate, just do it. What have you got to lose? And it takes seconds. We're not talking about hours of pure, perfect, silent meditation. You're not far from God. You're in God. So why would it be so hard to reconnect with God? Some people are like, it takes years. Really? I don't have that kind of time. I want to connect right now. Yogananda says, be like a bratty child. Daddy, mommy, just like tugging on the shirt of your mom or dad. Be like that, Yogananda says in his humane kind of, humanistic terminology. Tug on God all the time. Just like the child. Mommy, I have a question. Mommy, do that. Talk just as you're walking through your house. Hi, God. Just saying hi. Just, me. Love some help today with this and that. Just what have you got to lose? It's better than cutting off from that and going into the gears of worry. Now, if this, wow. For those online, there was this like lurch times 20. This heavy, Yeah. Just reach out, reconnect, recalibrate. Otherwise, it starts to happen. When you disconnect, the ego's like, yes. That's perfect. All I need for you to do, any amount of your disconnecting, I will fill that empty space. And when I fill that empty space, I have all kinds of suggestions. And it'll get this gear worrying. Let's make sure you're obsessing. What does obsessing mean in different descriptions? But one of them linearly is doing or thinking about the same thing over and over. So I'm going to get you obsessing. Because if I got you obsessing, it means I got you worrying. And if I got you worrying, it's because I've struck a note called fear. So I strike fear, you start to worry, now you start to obsess. This is great. Because when you're doing that, you can't be present. You're in the what if, and then if this goes wrong, and then see, it's like so bizarre. You got this machine kind of rolling. And one of you is asking about right and wrong asking, like, how do you know? Get in the habit of communing with God, and you'll already start the theme of being more accurate, more connected, more plugged in. There are people who in their own humble way talk to God, and they can just feel this presence. There's a saying, actually a great, wonderful speaker, teacher Alan Cohen. He has a book title called Joy is My Compass. And that should tell you something. Or remember Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. Right. What does it mean? Follow your bliss doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to just start following, getting what I want. Bliss is not excitement. Bliss is not, ooh, follow your bliss. No, that's just like cocaine. Follow your bliss is like, oh my God. This decision I'm making, if it's bliss-centered, joy-centered, it typically has this win-win vibe to it. It also has a calming vibe, which doesn't mean you can't be happy and excited, but it's got this tranquility to it, not stimulus. That's different. So how do I know when I'm plugged in, making the right decisions? Just start with making it a habit to plug in the first place. And then guidance starts to kind of become a default program to that. Not plugging in, chaos becomes the default that goes with that. So take responsibility to pray more often. Not beg for things. I mean, just, I'll call it commune with God rather than even pray, because I don't want to exclude meditation. They're the same ultimately. When you're praying, you're talking to God. When you're meditating, God's talking to you. But just do both. Have a conversation with God, meaning sit in communion. Pray, share your thoughts, but also take a minute to quiet and receive. On any topic, Edgar Casey said, any topic, meditation downloads can come to give you answers. It could be, where are my lost keys? It could be, well, how do I write the last chapter of that book? And it starts to become a default program. And truly, this is something that if you plant the seeds, that's what will grow in the garden. Now, there's none of us that are accidentally more gifted at this than others. If somebody just has an ability to do a reading or to talk to angels or to channel, or to be a great counselor, these are skill sets generally that we have developed over lifetimes. It doesn't happen accidentally. Nobody's more favored than another. It's all coming down to choice. Now, in this lifetime, I mean, when I was a kid, I was constantly on restriction. And it was just, it was so often, it's like all I could do is create a relationship with God. You see what I'm saying? So it's not an accident that I do what I'm doing. This is because of torture times, of being just a kid stuck in my room again, asking the most guttural questions. Why this family? And God's not going, I'm with you, man. They're really messed up. All God can say when we're asking those hurt-based questions is, I know. I hear you. And waits. Because as you ask, it starts burning off the intensity of the question. As you ask, the answers are already there, but the layers get peeled off. Why this family? Anyway, we'll just wait. And then you start having insights. And, that's okay. You might have really clear insights, total answers to things like, why did I marry this person in the first place? It's not going well. You might have, and you might get answers like, well, karma, da-da-da-da-da. Other times, you won't get the answers your head wants, but you'll get the ones your heart wants. Because the heart knows things the mind knows not of. And so the heart goes, if you are really plugged in, you'll see you don't even need to know the answer to that. Because when you're plugged in, who cares? So if I walk up behind you and I see a $10 bill sticking out of your pocket and I take it and you go to eat somewhere and your $10 is missing, you might want to know who took it, where it went. But if on the way to lunch you stopped by the market or wherever you buy your lottery tickets and you just found out you won $100 million. Do you think you care as much about the $10? No. The more you're plugged in, the less you need to know about this world and its stuff. You just don't bother with it so much. It can look like you're cold when everybody else is worried about something. It could be, the COVID thing that happened years ago. It could be anything, but you just don't get as caught up in it. When the world is all struggling, what are we going to do? Whatever, they're just obsessing on, and I'm not saying there wasn't a reason for people to worry and fear. That's each his own. I only know that we just continued these services that weren't supposed to be allowed. But I never asked anybody their opinion of whether it's allowed. I just said, I'll be standing here each Sunday, and if anybody else is sitting in the audience, go for it. Just let each person do their own thing. But I did mine. There's a scriptural or Old Testament quote, let others do as they may, but as for me, I will serve the living God. So it's kind of like saying, hey, you guys believe what you want to believe. Do what you want to do. Family members, your partners, your kids, your parents. Let others do as they may. Keep doing what you know is right in your center. And truly, the more we get to doing this, as I did as a child, it sort of planted some seeds to become somebody that's a little more used to communing with God. Now you could say, wow, and I'm not assuming that you think this is impressive what I do. I'm just saying if you think it's impressive, then you're going to be tempted to go, wow, he could do that. Hey, I went through hell to get to heaven. So don't put down your own challenging experiences. See them for what they were, learn from them, and then you plug into something new. The more you do your deep work, die well. The more you do your deep work, Jesus himself said, a person can only rise as far as they're willing to fall. And it means fall doesn't mean you have to go through hell. It means you have to go through the hell you believe in. It's not like God saying, I need you to be tortured in life before I want to give you a gift. God has nothing to do with that stuff. This is our own process. So when you're going through challenges, it doesn't matter if it came from the planet Saturn. It doesn't matter if it's a Saturn return. It doesn't matter if it's a full moon. It doesn't matter if you think it's this God, that God, whatever. Karma, you name it. It's all just gears. At the end of the day, what are you doing with it? Your job, die well. Look at this. Make compost of all this crap. Just take what seems to be yucky, process it. Make compost of it. Put the compost in your being as lessons learned, and great things will come to fruition next season. Is that making sense? But you've got to step up and do it. If life is still filled with what they did, now I'm not saying don't mourn what people have done. Don't feel sad for a moment. Don't be scared. I'm not saying that. Go through the proper channels. Right now something happened, I'm scared. Let me be scared. Right now I'm feeling angry. Be angry. Process it properly. But are you turning it from what they did to how you feel to where you want to go? If it's only what they did, I could be, except they, I would love to be prosperous, but my family was never, I would love to be, but my family they were addicts, and so they passed it. I don't believe in genetics, personally. I don't look or act anything like my family members. And it's not because I diss them. I don't know. I don't know them. They're not, they're gone. They're not my life. It's no problem at all. But I know that the last time I saw one of them, it was my sister. I stopped by her house and said, hey, how are you? And this is like, I don't even know, 20 years ago. And there was a guy in there but I walked by I forget why, but it was just kind of in, and then I had to go. And then when I left, she left a message with somebody and said, that was so weird, Michael came in and left, and the guy in that room, I guess, was her boyfriend or husband or something. And he said, who was that? And she goes, well, that was my brother. He's going, no. She's going, no, that was my brother. He's going, no. She's like, what do you mean? He goes, none of you in this family has that relaxed vibe. So he couldn't believe that. And he's an objective viewpoint. Like, that guy is, no. No, she's like, no. So you don't have to carry that stuff. You don't have to believe, well, my mother had this, so I'm going to have that. And if you do believe it, it's okay. If that's where you're at, that's okay. Learn to permit yourself to have some of those things. Know the truth, but respect the illusion. And don't shame yourself for it. Well, the only reason I have this is because my mother, and you catch yourself, but you learn to catch and go, hey, God, funny thing was just happening. I was making God my mother who passed genetics to me, because God is your creator and God is the source of all your power. Well, if I'm powerless and my mother made me that way, it means I made her God today. Funny thing, isn't it, God? God's like, I know. I've been trying to tell you people this for a long time. So what do I do with that? No resentment, no hatred. Don't try to get transfusions to get their genetics out of your being. Just give it all to God. It's coming to a place of non-reaction. It really is. And I don't mean, and there are people like this, I'm very spiritual. You can tell because I have no reaction. No, you're actually just boring. You just have no affect. That's, look how spiritual I am. It's just the weirdest thing. And people have been doing that form of spirituality for decades, if not forever. There's a whole group of, of philosophers that believed in the no affect thing. And some of them went too far and some of them were really awakened. But the idea of being stoic, just so like no affect, no, that's not God. But neither is jumping in to the fray of life. It's calm and it's peaceful. You should be able to smile and dance when the music's bright and everything's cool. You should be able to move and feel alive. And there's times when you hold people when they're mourning. You don't go, hey, let me hold you because I'm just so blissed out. That's not being compassionate. So just, the world will bring its stuff. It'll shoot its arrows figuratively at us. And our job is to see it for what it really is. If you want to really make a difference in the world, then learn to see things differently. And the best way, fastest way, easiest way to learn to see things differently is to ask the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit of God, to be your inner translator, your universal translator. Meaning, this is happening and I'm upset, but show me how you want me to see this. Ask God's opinion, and then you start to integrate God into your mind. If God becomes one of your default choices, it becomes part of your default being. But invite it in, even in 3D things. One of you is asking about receiving. This is the ticket right there. How do I receive greater prosperity? Start with not blaming your family for not having greater prosperity or for having abundant prosperity and saying, we thought about leaving you money, but no, and leaving you out. Also, if you're blaming your job, I want to be more prosperous, but my job, you know how corporations are and they do this. I know how they are, but you don't actually have to be run by them. So you adapt this Krishna consciousness. You switch gears into, there's Arjuna, who's the other main character in the Gita. And Arjuna's the one that's like, I want to make some changes. In this case, it was a battle. I want to make some changes. I want to fight off evil, Krishna, Lord Krishna. But I'm torn about some of this. I'm torn because I want to go to battle, but some people might be hurt, some people that I love, because on this opposite side of the field were some family members and friends. He's like, I can't believe we're going to war. Even though that side is doing evil in the world, I don't want to fight them because, it's my brother-in-law and he's naming reasons. You and I constantly give reasons to not make changes and they're just excuses. If changes means you want a better life and then you're not allowing yourself to choose a better life, you're choosing the opposite. If you don't choose a better life, you're choosing the opposite. Well, I'm not choosing the opposite. I'm trying to be a nice guy. No, you're being ineffective. In the book of Revelation, it's called lukewarm, and that character that's lukewarm will be spit out of the mouth of God because you're lulling yourself into false spirituality. Well, I don't want to step on any toes. Hey, listen, you walk. If they put their feet in the way, step on a few toes. Go. Move forward in your life. And if it means I want to, Mom, Dad, I know, thank you. I know you put some money out there to help me to be a lawyer because you wanted me because you're a lawyer or you weren't anything and you wanted your child to succeed. Great. Now you've made me into a well-credited lawyer and I can make big bucks. But I always wanted to be a florist. And they're going to be crazy about it. We didn't pay this kind of money for you to be a florist. I know. But that's what my heart wants to do. Your heart, who asked you what your heart wants? Get a job. See, and I'm the guy that's like, I want to be a florist. You know, I'm that kind of person. I follow color, I follow scent, I follow beauty. The whole thing, you know, college, it wasn't going to work for me. Not because it's wrong or bad. You can learn things there. I didn't want to learn anything. I didn't. Success. No. There's nothing I wanted to learn. I just wanted to feel the presence of God and make a difference. Now, if learning something helps me make a difference, I would be motivated enough to learn. But my experience in school wasn't, here's how you help people. I never heard those words. I heard memorize things and you might make a better living. And I chose to work for $3.65, I think it was, an hour in as an assistant to a teacher in a school. And never did I see the children complain. I loved them, they loved me, and I've got great memories. I got married and made a couple of them my ring bearer or whatever they call those kids, flower, whatever. Yeah, flower girl, which is a hippie song, isn't it? But I brought a couple of the kids in. It was kind of a funny thing because I told this little girl, she's the cutest girl, and I said, I want you to be in my wedding, Well, this little girl goes home, Mommy, this man wants me in his wedding. Now I'm like 18. She goes, what man? She goes, oh no, it's an old man. And the mom's like, yeah, it was a funny thing. So now I'm being, called in, the mom wants to meet you and find out who the old man is that's wanting to get close to her, her daughter. And I'm like, so I met the mom. She was working in some bakery and we ran in and she introduced herself and she's laughing. She's going, oh my God, this told me the whole story. And I'm like, sorry, But she was in my wedding. It was so beautiful, sweet. But my point is the connection there felt so authentic. I'm making $3.65, but you couldn't, and there were jobs I was offered, hey man, you could do this and you're making $20 an hour. And $20 an hour back then was $60 now. And for a kid, $20 an hour especially was like, bank, man, that's great. But I couldn't. And guys, I tried. I remember talking on the phone to a friend and I'm chatting with him, but I'm realizing I'm talking to avoid feeling. And I remember I'm talking to him trying to be just, hey man, how's it going? But I swear, I was in the corner of the kitchen, went to the corner and just slowly collapsed onto the ground. And I didn't let him know what I was feeling, but I started hinting and eventually had to hang up because I was going to a job that was so not me. I was going into an environment and I didn't know what to do. So Krishna is saying to Arjuna, listen, I sympathize, man. I get what because Arjuna's tears but this is wrong. And he's like, listen. And Krishna kicks some butt and says, Arjuna, the very idea that you're doubting whether you should ride into battle and take care of life's stuff, you're being asked to do this. This is your dharma. This is your path. And the very idea that you're doubting it means you're not hearing the voice of God. Wow. That's firm stuff. I love it. But it's firm. And now some people are like, oh my God, that's just so intense. That's because you want your ego enabled. That's what happens. That's not the voice of God, Krishna says. You're allowing weakness to control you. Step up. So to your pace, you have to follow God. But you have to get to a place where it's listen, feel what's going on. A job that tears you up inside, you don't have to quit today, but you might if that's your guidance. But instead, you can create what's called an exit strategy. I'm going to finish out the year. My retirement comes next year. I'm going to just hold out for that. And you'll find that if an exit strategy, you won't hurt as much going to that job. Knowing that there's an end in sight will help lift you if you're struggling with making decisions in your life. Even the hardest decisions. Create an exit strategy. Step up, let God guide you, and God will say, okay, listen. And it's kind of nice because God will spoil you in the sense, listen, you don't really, God isn't saying, I don't want you at that job. God's saying, you don't want to be there, so I don't want you there. I don't want you hurting. Or in that marriage. Or answering to your mother still. You know, and she's 105 and you're 85 and you're still having her opinions control your life. So God's going, that doesn't sound peaceful. So God's supporting you in making that change. So now Krishna is saying the very idea that you'd go, yeah, but then she's going to get mad. What does that have to do with anything? Well, if I tell my partner, I don't want you doing drugs in our house anymore, and they're going to get really mad because they've done it before, what does that matter? Krishna is saying, get on your chariot, let's go. Let's go. He even goes to the point of being gutsy enough, Krishna, to say, you know what? And Arjuna's, but it could hurt people, physically or not. It could hurt people. And Krishna's like, you're not responsible for that. You just shoot the arrows. You just go. And if somebody gets hurt by it, trust me, it's part of their own lessons. And he says it even more assertively than that, but I don't want to scare any of you, But truly, God is telling you, if there is a path awaiting, and it is called your life purpose, your dharma, your path, and you're still scrambling for ways to avoid stepping into the center and moving forward. Why are you doing that? Answer the question to yourself. Why am I waiting? Why am I hesitant? And you're going to find answers like, I'm actually afraid of failure. And then you're going to be really surprised when you hear, I'm afraid of success. You see? Generally, you're going to have one of those come up like, I'm afraid of what others might think. What would happen if I'm the number one attorney, or I was the attorney general in a state, or even running for office? And everybody sees me, they know my face, there's the placards on the streets, vote for me. And then a week later, I'm working in a flower shop. They're going to think, oh, is things that rough, man? You lost the election and now you're like working. If you're worried about what they think, then you should be glowing more to show them, I found my purpose. I found my center. Let them see. If you want to teach, you're always teaching. Course in Miracles, teach only love. It doesn't mean educate only love. It doesn't mean you stand and say, love. L is for loneliness. O is for objectification. It doesn't mean talk and Webster's, is Webster the dictionary? Webster's dictionary, you're not doing one of those Toastmasters lecture. Teach only love. It means be, because your being is always teaching somebody something. We walk down the street glowing, somebody will look and go, I want what he's having. I want what it's teaching. You're downloading a presence, and they're always learning. And when somebody knows that you're the person that went through a really horrible divorce, but you're glowing now, you taught them something. There's hope. When you're the person who was talking divorce and you turned things around with your partner and you showed them how you can center into, I got my partner to work on things, you've given them hope. You're teaching something. Always. When you show them absolute lack of control of your life and you're out of control and you're into addiction, when you show that, you're teaching. There's no hope. So get stoned with me, because there's nothing better. This is as good as it gets. And then with that, there's a heaviness. And you've contributed when you haven't given them a reason to feel hope. Remember that word, that concept. We don't have to get all cosmic. How do we become fifth dimensional? How do we ascend? Stop. I shared this once way back, but summarizing that Krishna story, it's kind of cool, because Krishna at the end is going, okay, Arjuna's like, so what's the ultimate lesson in life? This is Krishna. This is the Christ presence of the time. What do you want us to do? What do you want us to, what's the most important thing, Krishna? It's to practice and live all the yogas and become one with God. And then Krishna goes, but you're probably not going to be able to do that anytime soon. So start with being nice. Be kind and be of service, more or less. That's what he says. See? So you don't have to think about like, how do I become a glowing being of 18th dimension and da-da-da-da. Stop. Clean up your life. Look for the areas that are, the horses are spinning out of control, turning out, they're off. The reins are too tight to the right. Look for balance in your life. God is your first priority. Healthy self is your second one, and bringing that to others is your third. Just 3 simple steps. More God, changed self, present that to others. How do you present that to others? One of you is going to write a book, one of you is going to do a lecture, one of you is just going to smile more often. And all of them are perfect. Because God isn't saying, I want everybody to change their lives and write a book about it that only they will like. Now we've just released 8 billion books that nobody's read. So what good is that? So it isn't. One will write a book. And then let's pretend 100 people release a book right now on awakening. Why is it that only 10 will reach the market? And of those 10, why will only 1 make it? Because writing the book didn't mean selling the book. Sometimes you're writing it as your own personal process. Right? If I've written several books. When I write a book, I am what I'm teaching in the book. Even as I'm writing it, I'm becoming. But that's how I feel. I'm not claiming to be better than anyone else. I'm saying this is the way my mind works. When I'm standing here sharing with you, I'm integrating even as I'm saying things. I'm integrating them. It's like the light version of the Borg in Star Trek. But the light version. I integrate, I absorb. So I just keep, always. But that's how we're supposed to all be. Not linear, not problem. And I had an insight like it's a foreign object and then it floats away now that I had it and it's gone. It's supposed to be constantly like this. Our consciousness constantly growing. And I don't mean growing in the linear way people think. Well, I see that you're growing, or have you been growing? How could I not? To me, it's not a linear process. It's this beautiful multidimensional thing that I am as I am. And there'll be a point where the integration is so complete, any of us are then completely one with God. But even the one with God isn't a linear path per se. It's a process of us pulling away layers that get in the way. So you might pull off layers of hurt, but believe it or not, even learning is pulling off layers of ignorance. You see? So it's always a process like that. Even awakenings are part of a process. I never think of it like I'm a higher being, more evolved being today than yesterday. And so even if somebody were to compliment like that, wow, I love your talks this year, even more than 10 years ago. I don't think about it linearly. And so I just smile and say, well, thank you. But I actually do not agree with you. And not because I'm being rude, it's just I don't see it that way. I don't go, oh, thank God, I've gone from getting a D on my spiritual report card to a B+. It's not there like that for me. It's just really nice. Thank you for sharing. And I'm just constantly feeling like that. But in that sense, teach only love, for that is what you are. Teach only love is then what you'll see reflected back. So as I'm downloading and sharing things, I also feel like it comes back. The questions you ask, the gratitude you share, all of it, I just keep going like this. That's how I feel anyway. Every day is not like that. There's moments of 5 steps forward and then 1 step back, whatever that would be. An insult, whatever it happens to be, taking a financial blow somehow. There's always the step back. And it's tempting to go into that. All I would say is hold your center and observe it. Process it. What can you learn from it? The Bible tells you, do not let regret find roots in your being. Turn regret into something constructive. How do I do that? All you have to do is, what did I get from it? Learn from it. It could have been a horrible decision. The most horrible. You could have launched a world war. And if you can sit down and go, oops, what can I learn from that? That you don't gain by taking over the world. you gain by being. And if that's the insight you had, you become a master, from a tyrant to a master. It's kind of cool. And there's no limit to that. Any being with any background, the deepest drugs, a hitman for the mob, whatever you've done, there's a moment where it all can turn around on a dime. I shared this story once, and I'll start wrapping up now. But I shared this story. I was on a plane once, and I heard this guy say a name of a band. And my ears kind of, what? And he was talking about, he was a replacement for the band Black Sabbath. He replaced Ozzy Osbourne for a period. And he was talking about this, and I'm like, oh man, that's really cool. I thought Black Sabbath had some very deep spiritual lyrics, so I was appreciating them. So on the way out of the, towards the end of the flight, at some point I struck up a conversation. This guy was hilarious, man. But he was total New Jersey, New York kind of a, I know to some people those are two nations. They're not generally that mindset, that attitude. And so, and he had the whole accent and all that, And so he's telling the story, and he's like, I found the Lord, man. And I'm like, yeah, I had all the money, and I was singing for Black Sabbath for a while, and I had everything, and I finally got a bunch of the money, and I was building this mansion. And then I had these guys, the contractors, and they're working outside and putting my landscape together, You like that? Together. And he goes, and they were making so much noise. They was out there they're hanging around like in a little circle together. And I'm like, hey, I'm paying you. Why don't you get to work? And they said, we're here for you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And they said, you are possessed by addiction. And the Holy Spirit is telling us to work on you now. He says, next thing I knew, I was on the ground shaking, and these people were praying around, standing around in a circle praying for me. Get out of that man. And he's like, they're yelling at me and commanding the power of Jesus. Spirit of alcohol, get out now. And I felt this thing leaving my body. I mean, it was amazing. And I'm just like, I just wanted to know about some of the lyrics, man. And he's telling the story, and people on the plane are starting to, contract, This next thing, it's like a exorcism, addiction exorcism. But I loved the fact that he's imitating them with their Guido kind of exorcism. It's not like, beloved, spirit of evil, would you be so kind as to move aside? He's like, we see you out. It's like, wow, this is like, right? You get that? Like, wow. As 3D as you can get, man. This is some intense, I don't know, mobster exorcisms. And the guy felt it, and he became born again. That may not work on that person, but it'll work on that one. You and I are supposed to ask what to do, what to be, what to say, and not in each circumstance. Because one person needs to laugh a little, and another will be insulted if you bring up something that would help him laugh. So we're asked, and when you deal with a group, which thing do you do? You see, what do you do? Because us laughing, someone could sit here going, I struggle with that, and I don't think it's funny. Well, I'm sorry for you. And we can talk about that with you. But the group, this is where we're going. Sometimes laughing and sometimes crying, but it's a group, and when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Allow yourself to relax into it. But as I've said many times, even when we laugh and make light of some things, we are never completely blind to the other stuff that goes on. We could be laughing, and you could be right in the middle of a divorce, and you're not feeling lighthearted about that. And we know that. There's a time for everything. Our laughter it's like Abraham Lincoln was criticized. His whatever, man, politics, they always have to have something to complain about, these people. They can't just all get along. And so even Abe Lincoln, who's a pretty wise and inspired individual, who aged tremendously during that period of time of trying to deal with the Civil War. And he sits down, and somebody cracks a joke, and he laughs, and one of the cabinet members, I can't believe, Mr. President, that you think that anything is funny. He's like, We're in the middle of a war. People are dying, struggles and finances, and you took time to laugh. And Lincoln said, well, you'll have to excuse me because if I didn't laugh, I'd have to cry. That was a heartfelt thing saying, you know what, shut up. I'm paraphrasing, but shut up. Do not shame me for taking a moment to laugh. We need this once in a while. We need something other than drama and fear and worry. Same for you. Channel the Abe Lincoln within yourself to give yourself a chance to laugh. And that doesn't mean you don't have also those moments to cry, those serious moments. One time I was looking for a house, to move into a house, and I think this was towards the end of my marriage, but I had a couple children at the time. But I remember going and looking, and I went into one house, nice house, kind of cool, checking it out, and there was just something I could feel going on. And there was a little girl just kind of watching from the corner, and us walking through the house. And, you're supposed to be walking through, I love the closets, right? The kind of thing you generally would do unless you walked into a house of horrors. But generally, if you're looking at a house, you're like, oh, I love the fireplace, that kind of stuff. And I couldn't do that because something was off. And as I was leaving, the mom said, I'm sorry, that we're not welcoming more, but I'm going through a divorce. And see, I'm like that. I can feel what's happening. And I felt sad for part of me wanted to say, well, let's sit down and make a difference for that mom, that wife, and that child, because human suffering is not easy to see. It's not easy to just ignore. So where we can help and how we can help, let's make a difference. On that day, at that particular time, I didn't feel it wasn't the right time to just step into someone else's house and start trying to make a difference for them. All I could do is say, this too shall pass. All I could do is, I'm not saying those words, but in some sort of way, I'm really sorry. Start with that. Whether you've made a mistake or others are feeling a certain way or others are struggling, start with, I'm really sorry. And some people in the New Age community say, don't use the word sorry. It's negative and it lowers your vibration and you'll never ascend. Just tell them, I'm hearing the presence of God right now and it says, shut up. God, for God's sakes. It's beautiful to tell a person, I'm really sorry you're going through it. Oh, sorry, he has a bad frequency. No, you have a bad frequency. Saying sorry with the intention of, I'm sorry for you. I'm here. I hope you're okay. It means I care. It doesn't mean I'm a sorry soul, which is the way they interpret it. If you say I'm sorry, it means I'm a sorry soul and it's a negative. It's negative for spiritual nothings, people that don't get it. When you're awake enough, man, you can say the words I'm sorry and glow to a whole new level because you're doing it out of caring for people. So keep this in mind. One of you asked the courage of assisting and so on. Yeah, man, it takes courage. Step up. The days you don't feel like getting on the chariot, sit aside, cry out what's in the way, purge out what is in the way, but then try to come back and let Lord Krishna, let Christ, let your angels or whatever guide you back to the chariot. In this world, there will be struggles. That's normal. But what's not typical in a fallen world is people brushing themselves off, getting on the chariot and saying, let's go. And that's what we have to do. I'm sorry for this, but let's go. I'm sorry for that, brush off, let's go. Come out of the divorce. All this too shall pass. Get past that, process it, die well, and then let's move forward. And one of the morals of that story, Krishna says, is at the end of the day, it won't matter if you win or lose the battle. You will have won anyway because of your choice to step up. Because you chose to identify with God, not fear. So whether I've got to do this, I'm going to quit my job, put in a year's notice, a half year, whatever it is, and be afraid if you need to be, but that isn't God. But wait, because when you find your soul's purpose, I swear, 90-something% of the time, when you walk through it and do it, the divorce, I'm not talking to my parents for a while, or whatever you need to do to show who you are and being loving towards yourself, when you do that, 90-something% of the time, you will say, I should have done that sooner. It's the weirdest thing. And we all think, then why don't we? Because the next challenge, you're going to drag your feet as well. You think, well, last time it worked out pretty well. I'm jumping, man. I'm going. It doesn't work that way because fear is riding shotgun everywhere. It's always talking into your ear. That's normal. You're not bad or wrong to have a voice work in you. But whether you let it become your God and to make your decisions for you is another story. Please take a few centering breaths. Breathe in what made the most sense for you. Exhale out anything that you didn't agree with. It's okay to either not agree or not be ready for that concept. That's fine. Just breathe that out. Let it go. And focus what you did here that you agreed on, what worked for you. Whatever you heard, repeat it back to yourself as you're owning it. Never do this guy said, Michael said, no. Repeat it back to yourself as though it's truth for you. It is right to speak up when I know I'm clear and when I'm coming from a loving place. God will support whatever decisions you're making, particularly if they come from love. And when they don't come from love, own the mistake. Just, oops. I guess I was too afraid. I was too distracted. Own it. And in a very practical sense right now, think of any decision you've made in this year, this week, this day, whatever it happens to be. Let the Holy Spirit guide you to something you've done, decided, a choice you made that wasn't coming from the highest. It's okay, don't judge yourself for it, just see it. What was that about? Where was that coming from? Be honest and just ask. Let yourself reveal yourself, or let the Holy Spirit bring that forward. But what was that about? Where was that coming from? Fear, doubt, shame, what others would think, pride, anger, competition. Just see it. And no, it probably wasn't the highest decision you could have made, and it's because it was not coming from the highest place inside. Knowing that, I'm standing in a place of being responsible, which is a place of deep empowerment. So sitting in this place of empowerment, I'm a responsible being. No blame or shame, which takes me out of my center, sitting right here in my center, owning this. And so, from this beautiful place, I give the causes and effects of this incident to you, God. Not only am I permitted to do so, you ask me to, so I give this to you now. And I ask you to reveal to me how instead I could have felt what inside. Instead of what I did feel, what could I have been feeling? Call that in. Certainty, clarity, centeredness, love, peace. And that would have brought me what? What different outcome? Even if it's in your imagination, imagine the different outcome. Greater friendship, greater feeling of connectedness, abundance, prosperity, health. What could it have brought you? Having that different mindset. Imagine it happening, because as you imagine it happening, it's actually starting to program into the matrix of life. And I give thanks, Father, Mother, God, that this alternate choice becomes my alternate reality. The better feeling, the better choice, the better outcome. This is what you're trying to teach me, Lord. This is what you're trying to bring into my day-to-day life. Guide me to not be so resistant to this. Show me how to feel confident in being centered in you and making different decisions. And then I can marvel and celebrate the beautiful outcomes. It's called the gifts of God. And I'm ready for this in my life now. And so it is. Just remain centered for a moment, gradually reintegrate back into the room. Beautiful, thank you. Tune into what you're thinking, feeling, what you experienced. What did you learn in the talk or meditation? What did you experience in the talk or meditation? And then in a moment we'll do our closing prayer. Can anyone share, what did you learn or hear that made the most sense or could be the most helpful to you? Yes.
This was all-encompassing. No blame.
All-encompassing.
No shame.
No blame, no shame.
Only God.
Only God. Anyone else? Yes?
I love that I just drove 2,000 miles and got the train moving to come home and, really shake up that apple cart.
Nice.
Perfect message, thank you.
Wow. You drove 2,000 miles?
Yeah, from
Jeez,
Michigan.
to be, wow. Wow, well, thank you. Nice. Yes?
Owning what my chariots are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, owning the chariot, the horses. What does my life do? These are my engines. What are they doing? Right? Yeah. Yeah, take control of your life. Take responsibility, ownership. Anyone else? Yes?
You hit so many good points. I wouldn't even, it's hard to capture all of them. The two that I specifically want to thank you for are ones of blessing the experience of an apology. Because I have met those people here in Sedona and they just, I just ate all your supplements. It's okay, I was just doing my best.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that. Yeah.
So thank you so much for modeling that. And also when you said respect the illusion, because sometimes we do, we're all human, right?
Respect the illusion. Yeah.
And you said something before that I'm trying to remember, know the reality, but respect the illusion.
Know the truth, but respect the illusion.
Know the truth, so
Yeah.
So that we can be aware of ourselves,
Right.
ourselves, and that obviously we do want to transcend the story that I was born the year of the horse and I have this life path, but
Right.
to be kind with ourselves, so that we're not
Right.
beating ourselves up.
Being kind to ourselves, being gentle. Know the truth, but respect the illusion. When you have to, spend an hour in a warm bubble bath because you're trying to deal with the stresses, let it happen. You could say, oh, this is just weakness. I need to be spiritually strong. Man, lighten up. Lighten up because you're not, not obsessive spiritually. You don't want to do that. Yeah, absolutely. Be kind to yourself. What was the first thing you said besides you thought I was brilliant? I'm kidding. No, what was the first thing after that? Oh, yes, but it was also the power of being able to say, I'm sorry when something's... I'm sorry when I make a mistake, but I'm also sorry when you're hurting from your mistake. You follow? It's beautiful both ways. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes?
I noticed over the passage of my life, I came to a conclusion in my my current state, it's always metamorphing and changing. So I'm thankful for the life that I have, especially to this
Nice.
extent, and as it continues to go
Right.
through.
Grateful for the metamorphosis of your life, but you also see how it continues to change. And you guys were getting what I was talking about, like just keep your center, keep growing in consciousness, not, oh, I gained, I lost, I gained, forget that linear stuff. It's all temptations of the ego to never let you gain. You had something, you lost something, you had something, it's more tangential. It's instead, I never lose. Even when something goes wonky, I just stop, maybe take a step back, breathe. What can I learn from that? Oh, wow, that was amazing. And now it becomes fuel to growth. Even mistakes. Beautiful. Yes?
Don't regret. Show up and do some good.
Yeah. Don't dwell in the regret. Show up, do some good. I mean, really, that's mastery. Let's go, baby. Let's show up. Let's move. One more.
That it's okay to just cry it all out.
That it is okay to cry it all out. Cry out the stuff of life. And not everybody's always ready to hear these things. It can be challenging, scary even, because it means I could be making changes right now. Like I could, wow, no. I don't want to hear that. I want to just kind of sit with this for 20 more lifetimes and then thinking about what I could have done. That's perfect. Good luck with that. All right. Okay, so we're going to do our closing, but first, donations. Please gather your donations, put them to your heart. Folks online, there's a link that you can make donations. In the room, it's the purple bags. Purple bags. Extra donations, extra for people of lesser means or projects of ours, that goes in the basket, okay? Whatever extra you can give, we greatly appreciate it. All right? Hold your love offering to your heart. Really feel it. Let's share the prayer together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Thank you. A couple quick announcements while they're sending the baskets and our closing prayer. Remember that the crystal bed is available. It's a healing room out here. It's the yurt. You can schedule those. Usually someone's in the foyer there you can schedule with after service. But if not, just call the office at any time during the week. The crystal bed is a pretty multi-dimensional experience. It's really beautiful. At the very least, very deep and calming. But quite often people see and feel some extraordinary healing. It's not unusual for people to feel like someone was standing in the room when in fact nobody was, and they're laying hands and holding your feet or sending you comfort. It's very, very powerful. And we have a bunch of healers working here. We have just a block away a healing room that people, you can book sessions, like the greatest cranial sacral massage, all kinds of different therapies, but those are all listed on a brochure in the foyer, so you can check that out and learn more about that. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching online, you can like and subscribe and do all those wonderful things so that you're notified when we have something going on. Remember, though, everybody in the room and online, get on our mailing list, please, because that's the easiest way for you to be kept up with what we've got going on, events and all that. Let's see. We have spiritual healing counseling. This Wednesday, we have a circle we do every other Wednesday, and this Wednesday is that Wednesday. So I facilitate, but it's a group of us, and we're talking about what's going on in life, how to heal things to a deeper level. Sometimes it's body-centered, sometimes emotional, sometimes hands-on work. It varies. But at the very least, it's kind of a wrap group, hanging out in a support group, talking about stuff of life and how to deal with some of those challenges. That is 4 o'clock. Wednesday, every other Wednesday, and so it's this Wednesday. Today, from 1 to 4, we have Exploring Spiritual Mythology class, and this theme this month is Eastern mythology. And last thing is coming on Sunday, November 30th, from 12 to 5, we have, at the end of the month, we have our annual Awakening Christ Consciousness workshop. So that's November 30th, and it's just a 4-hour workshop that I do, 4 or 5 hours that I do here live. You can attend here in person, or you can watch online. It's the first time I've ever done it as a one-day workshop. It used to be 5 days, and then we narrowed it down for different reasons, logistical things and all that, but it's to make it most affordable and most available to the most people. I wanted to bring the price way down, so we've brought it into a one-day workshop, so you're welcome to join us, but we'll tell you more about that. And there's flyers here for that, okay? Thank you. Please stand for our closing prayer. Thank you. Now, when we're done with our prayer, the folks in the room, hang out for just an extra second. We'll sign offline, and I just have one quick question just for the folks that are locals. But just hang out and wait 1 minute. All right, center into gratitude. Look around the people in the room and just repeat, peace be with you. Peace, peace be with you. Folks online, peace be with you. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love of God. The power of God protects us. We are the power of God. And the presence of God watches over us. We are the presence of God. Wherever we go, God is, I am, we are, and so it is. Peace be with you.